essentially, if I was to give you the 90-second pitch, I don't want like you to give me money. I want your feedback. Would you be willing to do that?
Go for it. Figure out what is the 1 to 3 killer features that needs to happen in this app, and then all your time should be spent in building the buzz around the app.
I want to help this person because I can see, like, with or without me, they're going to do something amazing. I'd like them to do it with me. I'd like to do it with them.
That's the hardest money to raise.
Of course. Yes, it is.
What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Very good, very good.
So what do you got? How can I help?
Actually, if I was to give you the 90-second pitch, I don't want like you to give me money. I want your feedback. Would you be willing to do that?
Go for it.
Awesome. So budget waste has plagued the trillion-dollar market research and marketing and advertising sector forever. It's a universal problem because all businesses market and advertise. So essentially, our company has come up with a way to combine mobile, big data, and AI via a digital marketing and advertising platform. This platform will aggregate and process data collected from unique high-end smartphones that we will give to the consumers in exchange for basically completely unrestricted access to the phone's data. So in this case, the data enables our clients, which would be brands, to target users for mystery shopping, focus groups, consumer experience studies, surveys, marketing, and sales. And essentially, the user, in essence, doesn't have to change their behavior. We mirror their behavior. And the brands win because they no longer have to waste time and money guessing and testing before launching campaigns. And the user wins because they finally get complete 100% transparency and control of their data. So this method essentially would encompass the full consumer profile for the first time in history. It would result in approximately a 0.7% market share by about 3 years in the market, which would be multiple $1 billion in revenue. At the moment, we are seeking about $1 million in funding. And what we would do with that is by year 2, we provide about 100x return on investment by year 5. And basically, in the time I've been pitching this to you, approximately $10,000 were wasted somewhere in the world on marketing and advertising. My team has about 340 years worth of business experience currently, and I've raised about $2 million before on a previous tech startup, which was also for smartphones. And in this case, where we are now, what we're looking for is partners and funding. We are bigger data for better business.
So you're going to take the data off my phone and then market to me. You're going to sell that data to brands, and I'm going to market it how? Through Facebook, Instagram ads, through
No,
what?
We have our own platform. So think of the way that you would pay for a Facebook ad or a YouTube ad or a Google ad. You can essentially do that through our phone directly to the user, bypassing all applications. But because it's 100% targeted in real time based on what the user does, the user will actually like these things because, for instance, it will be like, hey, I'm in Starbucks right now. They're sending me a coupon right now. I'm doing this right now. They ask me if I do this, they'll pay me $1 a minute to give them a three question answers.
So it's a separate app, or I get texted, or what?
We own the phone. We make the phones.
Okay.
So we have everything. We have total control. So every single application in the phone, all the data gets aggregated into one place. And then a dashboard enables brands to target you for whatever they feel like, but it's only predicated on who you are. So there can never be, like, for instance, I'm sure you scrolled Facebook before, once in a while you get an ad on something you've already purchased. That should never happen. You're wasting that person's money.
Yeah,
they've already purchased it.
That part's understandable. Nobody would disagree with you to say that if you're going to come out and say marketing budgets are being wasted. Everybody can understand, right. Especially non-digital budgets are being wasted. But you're not actually making phones, right?
Yes, like, we are. We manufacture phones. I've already made them. I've made phones that float in water before. Making phones are easy. My CTO worked at Nokia for 30 years, so making phones is quite easy. It's we will manufacture the phone, we will own the phone, and we will give the phone away to users in exchange for all the data. And in exchange for that, we will pay them to keep the phone.
Okay, so a couple things come to mind. One, this has to be your full-time thing.
Of course.
Right? Like, nobody's going to give you money for this side hustle thing that you're doing, especially at the size and scope that you're looking at. 2, in your pitch, I don't care that you've raised $2 million before. I care what happened to that company.
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't the CEO. I was the VP of marketing. It didn't make it to market. We finished the phone. I have the phone. It floats in water. I have all of those specs. I also have the phone I made now for this new project. So those are finished. But again, I wasn't in charge of the money, and they didn't make it.
Right. But then in your pitch saying, like, when you say, hey, I raised $2 million for a company before, the initial thought is going to come back, okay, how'd that company do? Like,
Right.
oh, it didn't do so well, but I wasn't, so you're going to have to explain that part of the story.
Sure.
And then you need a thin wedge in. You need to figure out what is, how you two-step it. Because going to then making phones, you have an expensive value problem that you have to actually give away phones. It's not just a digital thing.
Right.
So building users is giving them a phone, then asking them to switch from there. I mean, I'm talking to you on my, whatever this is, Android phone.
Right.
So I need to switch now. They forget my Android phone. I'm going to go to this new phone. No, you're
It's
giving
Android-based as well.
great, but I mean, people buy their, people are, I'm not a gear head, but people are obsessed with what phones to use and why, and the camera and all that kind of stuff. So now you're competing against Apple and Android, you know, all these, you're competing against big companies to make a better phone. The phone has to be up to par with other phones.
It will be.
Right?
It basically, will have the top of the line specs, and it has a couple features that I can't even mention on this call because they're highly proprietary that no other phone has in the market.
So you're competing in the phone business, but the business model is going to be
marketing and
advertising.
research and market advertising. Yes.
Right. So I'm going to be seeing ads on my phone, whether it's app or just built into the OS or however you're going to do it. It's a big step having nothing. Right. I would look at how do you two-step it in so that the most expensive part is having a phone. How can you build a platform? Right. But how can you build a platform so you get advertisers on without the phone?
So we've actually explored, we've been working on this for almost 2.5 years, and we've explored that quite in depth. And the key is you can do it with an application, but you're basically going to be starting at such a small level in terms of what you can do with the data on a legal perspective, and also from I'll call it an aggregation perspective, that there's actually more barriers to market with just an app than there is with a phone. That being said, we are at the point where we are going to start with an application anyway, because it does, even though we have the phone built, to put them both together is going to take a lot longer than we initially thought. So basically we have the phone, now we're building the model separately that people can put on any phone to start, and then eventually we're going to transition them both together.
Yeah, and to do the phone properly, you need way more than $1 million.
Yes, so this $1 million would be to finish the project. Since I have the phone built, it's just to finish the business model.
Right. Well, and that's the hardest money to raise.
Of course. Yes, it is. That I know.
People don't want to fund R&D to finish your project. They want to fund marketing, expansion, growth. So that's the game, honestly. Like that's the long-term plan. Get your phone out, but you need to build a revenue model around whether it's an app or a text messaging service or something that is not the full scope, is 2% of what you're capable of doing.
Right.
But in that 2%, there's value, and you're building a user base, and you start making some money. And then you can say, we have 1 million people who have downloaded our thing that we can then move and say, hey, if we have this free phone, would you guys use it?
So it's interesting you said that because, so as I said, we have the social media marketing company. So the social media marketing company was initially started because I've always been in that realm, and it's just how I've always marketed my businesses. But in all honesty, the focus right now, why that's full-time instead of this, is we actually have an affiliate program through that social media marketing company. And those affiliates, we are slowly working on transitioning them into an application where we will start feeding them these type of jobs and things that they can do. And then essentially exactly what you just said is once we have enough of them that it makes sense, we can say, hey, if we were able to put you on a phone where you can make even more money than you are now and things worked out better, would you be willing to switch? So we have to hit a source, of course, some type of a number. We haven't determined yet because we are still just moving forward with some of these things. But once we hit a certain number, then it makes sense to say, hey, if we did this, would you come with us? And I think a lot of people would, because as we know, data transparency is a big issue. A lot of people are, kind of wrestling with now. They're like, hey, if they're going to take my data anyway, you might as well get paid for it.
What's the highest value that somebody would get from an app that you could legally do and give them value that they would want to install on their phone?
So in all honesty, the answer really, again, I think for us centers around one, if you're already an affiliate for us for our social media marketing and you're making money from our clients month over month, then once you're working with us via our website, if we launch an application that one makes that easier, And then 2, we start adding in bits and pieces of the overall model. So it's like, hey, we have a client we need you to do some research for. Would you do some research for our client, and we'll pay you X?
But
Hey,
that's such a slow way to go if you're saying everybody has to come through and be your affiliate before they learn about this thing. Like, you need to hit mass adoption. You're not going to have 1 million affiliates.
No, you won't have 1 million affiliates, but to be honest, you don't need 1 million, because a lot of the money from this is really in focus groups, consumer experience studies, and mystery shopping. So even if you have 100,000 or 50,000, it's a big enough number that you can essentially start with the application and keep adding more and more pieces. Then when you have 1 million people that are in the app, even if they're not all affiliates, because now they've been brought in from other avenues of marketing, then, like you said, at that point, you might say, okay, let's transition to a phone.
But the affiliate, you're working with one-on-one, right? You're training them, you're mentoring them,
No.
you're guiding them. No?
So everything is done online. We do it with like webinars, ebooks. So pretty much they sign up, and when they start signing in clients, then we're mentoring them in some ways, but we're not doing it one-on-one for most people. There are some people, if they're, I'll call them like partners, that we do some one-on-one mentoring with. But most people, they're really just learning online. So it's a lot of like what you're doing. Like if you're making videos, 1 million people can consume that same video.
Right.
The same, if we make a video to put it out for people for training, I don't have to be there, obviously, physically in person to train every single one of them. Again, there are some people that go above and beyond where now we want to make ourselves available. We're like, I want to help this person because I can see, like, with or without me, they're going to do something amazing. I'd like them to do it with me. I'd like to do it with them. You know?
I hear you. It just seems like honestly, like a backwards way to do it. If you were trying to build this giant agency up and have tons of affiliates, and that's a great way to tackle it. If your goal is, I want to have phones, I want to make my own phones, our own platform, and disrupt the advertising marketing industry, then you need to get the app out ASAP and figure out what is the 1 to 3 killer features that needs to happen in this app. And then all your time should be spent not on affiliates who might help promote this one day, but in building the buzz around the app. Like you should be on this show talking about how this app is going to help people. You should be doing media campaigns and talking to other influencers, telling the story, building up the user base so that you have 100,000 people who are using the app. So what are the 3 features that have to be in this app? Go develop it and then go tell the story instead of building this social media thing with affiliates and then hoping that they transition to this other thing that you're trying to do.
Right. That's definitely something I'll have to look into with the team for sure. It makes sense.
I think you had this other business and now you're trying to figure out how do all these pieces make sense. So now there are these kind of ropes that are going between instead of actually saying like this is our strategy.
Right. That makes sense.
So if you're all in on the phone thing, then that should be the path. Like, how do I make an app with 2 to 3 features that people love, and then I'm out telling the story, and then figure out a way to monetize that. Like you're taking a cut, to market to my user base, you're going to pay us X, and that's not going to be the big home run for you, but that gets you distribution. And then when you have a sizable audience, then you can go and say, I want to make even that's going to be a big step to say from an app to our own phone. But at least now you have advertisers on board, you have a user base on board. It's going to be much easier to go off and actually do the thing that you want to do.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, this is actually why I'm very happy Michael set up the call because, look, no matter what I have, I love the perspectives and opinions of others in this case because I don't know everything in any way, shape, or form, and I consult with my team. We have discussions on this stuff weekly of how we can essentially move different ways into it. So, that may be the way to go. I mean, we've priced out the application to do it before, like an MVP model, and I mean, either way, I'm sure you can imagine that even with 2 or 3 features with this type of an application, it's still not cheap, of course, to get going, but it's definitely cheaper in that case. So,
well, and your business is funding. Like your affiliate business is funding this business.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like it's better than you having a job that's funding this business.
Right. No, I mean, look, I love what I'm doing because at the end of the day, they're both marketing. They're both centered around marketing and advertising and market research. So they're sort of in the same lane enough that it's not like I have to, kind of split my brain like, okay, one day it's real estate, then the next day it's marketing. It's still marketing. It's just one is a business model and the other is literally marketing.
Yeah.
So that allows me at least to kind of focus in that way.
But it's still like you're trying to force these things together and like, okay, how can I use this affiliate business to help grow my phone business, app business, marketing, data business? And it's good in that one is funding the other, but forcing them together actually slows down the growth of the thing you want to build.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I definitely appreciate that that insight. And like I said, I'll have to talk with the team and look into see how we can do it so they're running parallel but separate.
Yeah. And eventually you're going to leave the affiliate business to do this thing full time.
Absolutely. That is the goal.
Whether you sell it or somebody, you promote somebody internally who then you partner up with and he or she goes off and runs it for you. How much does your app cost to make?
So this application at what I'll call is not an MVP level. It would be slightly above an MVP level, but let's say MVP for the sake of argument would be between $300,000 and $350,000. So that would be approximately to get something that would be viable that has, I would say, 3 to 5 of the core features that we would need that I know that when you combine those are the actual value prop. So obviously with a lot of what we're discussing, as you can understand, it's really about the combination of the data points that nobody else has, that when you put them together, you now have new insights that allow for better inferences, better marketing. So you need to have a certain amount of data points to kind of actually get to that value prop. So around that would be 300,000, 350,000.
And just development costs, not marketing.
Yeah, that's development costs.
I would partner with somebody who aligns with the mission, who could do that for you.
I would be happy to do so. As I said, I have obviously the technical guys for the phone. The technical for the coding is a little harder to come by lately because it seems like, I don't know, Google and Amazon are hiring everybody up. That I had a data scientist who was working with me for like 6 months. He's like, Google just offered me a job for $300,000 a year. He's like, I love what you're doing, but he's like, I got to take the job. I was like, hey, I'm not mad at you. Like, it's a good job. You got to do what you got to do.
Someone who loves the mission, man. Someone who loves the mission. Because also when you go to raise funding, they're going to look at your team. And if you don't have a CTO who understands the code,
yeah,
you can't just hire employees. You can't just outsource the development. And so
no, absolutely.
You need to find that partner. If it's going to cost $350K cash to develop it externally, that's a big chunk to siphon out of your affiliate marketing business.
Of course.
Put into this thing, and it's going to be really hard to raise 350 off of just an idea to go out to the market and say, hey, will you fund this thing? So you need to have a CTO who you love, who aligns with the mission, aligns with all your values. Like, yes, this is what I want to build, and have him or her help you build that thing. You're the marketing, you're the face, you're the business guy. He or she's going to be coding it so you can get it out to market. So then you don't need to, like, you actually release just your MVP and then you keep improving it. You're going to be the one talking to all the people who are installing it, right? And say, hey, did you like it? How can we improve it? How do we make it better? Get the feedback to the CTO, then he or she's off making it better. And your word is grind. You're grinding it instead of going off and trying to raise 350 or $500,000 or $1 million to build it, because you'll end up spending all your time in fundraising mode instead of actually being able to execute, because people aren't likely going to fund this where it's at right now.
Oh, of course, totally understood. Yeah, I actually, when we first started putting this together, I sat in front of a couple of investors, not hoping to get money. It was more for their feedback of how to kind of streamline the process of what we're doing and if they thought it was viable. And I kind of got a lot of that same. So then like I said, we revisited with the team. We said, okay, how can we do this separately? Can we make the phone by itself? Can we make the app by itself? How do we do one before the other? So we've done a ton of analysis on it. And a lot of what you're saying kind of aligns with the idea of us where we're trying to break it down into baby steps, because it's the end model is very, very large. It obviously has super potential because, you know, it can change a lot of things, can save a lot of money in the marketing world. And again, a lot of people would probably appreciate it, because I know, you know, I have no problem with a Facebook ad. If someone targets me properly and I'm like, oh, this is a great book, like I might get this book. But, you know, of course, if someone targets me with like a book about, you know, something, I'm like, what is this? Then I'm like, you know, so the idea is if we can keep it as targeted for the user, then their phone actually becomes an asset beyond just like a physical object. The phone starts learning who you are, and in all honesty, it's what we're trying to deem it as, it's the world's first smartphone, because the AI algorithm essentially will start to learn what you're doing and be able to help you in real time. So for instance, if you incorporate a business, your phone, instead of waiting for you to go to Google, can start sending you information like, oh, you need this right now. You probably need someone that can help you with a pitch deck, or this, you know, it starts funneling the information to you ahead of time. So it's, instead of being reactive, it's proactive.
It all makes sense. You need momentum.
Yes, absolutely.
You need to get the app out, right? Like
so,
this year, you need to release your app.
So I had one last question, which wasn't really on my list of things to do specifically, but since you brought it up, would you happen to know any coders yourself that would be interested in something like this?
Nothing's coming top of mind, but it's good to put it on the radar, right? Like when you're talking to people, like now it's on my radar. If I meet somebody, I mean, you honestly need somebody local.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
somebody in New York, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to think. Somebody in Toronto, the back and forth. I mean, it's close enough. It's an hour-and-a-half flight, but that hour-and-a-half flight makes all the world of difference.
Oh, trust me, yeah, that I know.
But yeah. This is what you want to be talking about, right? So when you're going to meetings, whether it's the chapter, Believe Nation chapter in New York, or anything else that you're doing, I want to build the next app that does X, Y, Z, and right now I'm looking for a CTO. Like, you just put that on everybody's radar.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, Evan.
Cool, man. Thank you, Jared. I appreciate you.
If you want to spend some one-on-one time with me, I have a special offer happening right now. Go check out the website right next to me. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.